to evaluate 5 years of President Dr. Julius Maada Bio in government since 2018 to now 2023. Successes and challenges in governance. We have with us the Minister of Information and Communication, Mohammed Rahman Swari. We're also expecting to have Honorable Abdul Kargbo, member of the main opposition, All People's Congress, APC party. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning. It's a pleasure being here.
It's 5 years already in office. What does the government show forth as the successes, let's begin from there, of the President Julius Maada Bio-led government?
Okay, so first off, I'd like to use this opportunity to very heartily congratulate President Julius Maada Bio and team for having steered the ship in extremely turbulent waters and landing it safely this first term. You know, during this first term, many things have happened. I will start from the key manifesto commitments. First, let us paint a picture. In 2018, you had an economy inherited on life support machine. You had the real GDP growth in 2016 was like 6.7%. It was in downward spiral by the time we took over. It was at 3.7%. So by 2020, you know, and when that happened, those depressing figures from 6.7 in 2016 to 3.7 in 2018, right? So what that meant was that jobs were, the economy was generally in downward spiral. Jobs were contracting. People were losing jobs in the mining sector. 2 mines had folded up. By 2020, we tried, so President Bio spent the first 2 years trying to successfully stabilize the economy and address the macroeconomic situation. So by 2020, right, real GDP growth had gone up to 5.7 from a dismal 3.7%, right? Inflation as at the end of 2021 was about 8.5%. You know, so all these things had happened. Then came the twin shock of COVID and the Russia-Ukraine crisis. But see, we have been able to navigate our way through all of this. Leave the economy for a minute, come to other sectors. On education, you know, the president had been very clear. He set about a human capital development project that has 3 limbs. Limb number 1, education. In education, he promised to introduce free quality education. This is very unprecedented. In the same year of his election, in April, he was elected. By August that year, he had launched a free quality education, which has today seen over 3.1 million kids in school, over 600,000 kids benefiting from hot school meals, over 200,000, you know, so the figures are all out there. That is in itself very phenomenal. Because when we started it, you know, very much like the Kennedys, when he said he was going to land men in space, they said that was not possible. And he did. The same way President Bio was able to introduce the FQSE in 3 short months after his election. That should be commended. Move from there, go to the healthcare delivery system. In healthcare, we have been able to do many things. Apart from the huge investments in hospitals, Keama Road, Rokupa, Kono, Kenema, you know, Lomley, these are 100-bed hospitals. In Kono is a 100-bed, you know, center of excellence, amongst other things. When recently the UK Foreign Secretary visited, you had kids, many kids died, premature babies had greater chances of dying. Today you have direct oxygen being pumped to those kids and the survival rate has increased. Little wonder we have been able to reduce infant mortality rate considerably and maternal mortality rate by about 74%. I mean, these figures are not my figures. These are UNFPA, UNICEF figures. We're doing very well on that. We have increased budgetary allocation and disbursement from 6% to 11.5%. That in itself is a quantum leap. Take agriculture. We have been able to do 20% increase in food production. We have changed the paradigm from Adam and Eve kind of agriculture, the whole and what have you. Government has injected a lot of machinery into agriculture, trying to make it sexy and trying to make it the in thing. His Excellency himself has led by example. Appointees are taking the cue. When we started off, there were huge problems. Today, people are asking, you know, at harvest season last year, people were asking for more combined harvesters because, you know, they had cultivated vast area of farmlands that they could not use Adam and Eve methods to cultivate. So things are happening. A lot is happening. When it comes to policy and legal and regulatory reforms, I mean, no government has come, you know, a third close to what President Bio has done. He has abolished the death penalty. He has introduced a gender empowerment and equality law. He has decriminalized libel. He has done many, many things that governments, that since the founding of Sierra Leone in 1808, no government has dared do, from the colonial masters to post-independence leaders. He has to be credited for all of that. So there are many, many, many things we have done. This is just at a glance. This is just, you know, by way of an opening salvo.
Yeah, before we continue deeper into that conversation, still part of assessing President Bio's 5-year in office, one of our colleagues, Mohamed Lamin Bania, put a story together assessing the president's 5 years in office. Let's get that in. We'll come back. Stay with us.
Please.
Julius Maada Bio was elected as the 5th executive president after polling 51.8% from votes cast as against All People's Congress party flag bearer Dr. Samora Matthew Wilson Kamara's 48.2% votes on the 31st of March runoff election. Human capital development has been the bedrock of the Bio's administration. In his manifesto, Julius Maada Bio highlighted about 500 promises, but has his government been able to achieve those promises?
This administration has been able to deliver on over 80% of the manifesto promises that we made as a government. I mean, we may have different schools of thought on the data. It depends on who drives the data and what data analytics you would apply. But as a government, and the fact that we have been able to wear our hats of evaluation, we feel tremendously comforted that we have been able to deliver. We are not there 100%.
For the main opposition All People's Congress party, President Bio has failed woefully from what he promised in his manifesto.
To me and to the general populace, he did not achieve much of what he said in his manifesto. For instance, he's talking about youth employment. Go out there and say that to the youth, and you will get their response. The only employment he created for the youth is to build car wash. Even those car wash are not even limited to absorb 1% of the youth.
The repeal of the libel law, enactment of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act, institution of Commission of Inquiry, free quality education are amongst the achievements of the Bio's administration, which the APC hold a different view to.
The women 30%, we are yet to see it. It could have been something good because we need women to be inclusive in politics. So that one, until it happens, I will not call it achievement. I hope it happens. But until it happens, I will not call it an achievement. But the idea is good.
5 years down the line, what citizens' assessment of President Bio's tenure in tandem with the manifesto promises made?
In my opinion, people are suffering despite promises made by the government. The worst of it, no one is communicating to us about the situation so that we can understand.
That kind of way, we will not understand.
In my view, the president has done his best, and that's what we have been seeing from different presidents, to do their best, despite people are complaining that things are hard.
Things are hard. It's not to one side, like you or something.
We cannot cast too much blame on the government, but people that are doing businesses, because they are the ones hiking prices.
The 5 years of President Bio has not been easy for us. My husband immediately lost his job after President Bio was elected president. Since then, things has been so difficult for me and my family.
There are mixed reactions on President Bio's 5 year in office from citizens and opposition. But what should be the take-home of President Julius Maada Bio's 5 years in office?
So one take-home is trust. His word is his bond. Secondly, he has this country at heart. Thirdly, he has participated immensely in bringing peace, in developing our democracy, and he wants to be a sustaining feature of seeing that democracy grow and blossom into something.
Bokari Matia, AYV News, Freetown.
Many thanks to Bokari Matia for putting that story together, assessing President Bio's 5 years in office. We're still expecting Honorable Abdul Kargbo, member of the main opposition, All People's Congress, APC party, to join us in the conversation, but we still have the Minister of Information and Communication, Mohammed Ramanswari, with us in the studio. You heard that there are some of the citizens who responded that where they're from, what they experience, are comfortable. There are also those who say they've not really been very comfortable with the president in office over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, that is expected. This is the first 5 years. I mean, those are very honest Sierra Leoneans. Even the president knows he has not been able to satisfy everybody in these 5 years. But we have done substantially well. We have exceeded the expectations of many people. Some of the things we have delivered, we did not promise in our manifesto. So understand that. That is why he is seeking re-election on the basis of his track record. We believe we can do more. He will do more because he has a track record. Even in the most debilitating of circumstances, in the most difficult of circumstances, he has been able to do things that no government in post-independence Sierra Leone has been able to do. So understand that. I want to assure those that are critical of us that will continue to push the boundaries of development. We'll continue to ensure that we win more hearts and souls. We'll continue to ensure that we'll satisfy more and more Sierra Leoneans, right? Directly and indirectly. Because I know for some people, fact is, if you have a kid in school, if you used to help a neighbor or a friend or your own kids with school fees and school-related kids, and your kids are in public school, your problems have been substantially ameliorated by the intervention of this government through the free quality education, through the provision of core textbooks and exercise books, through the provision of hawk school meals, through the provision of teaching and learning materials for teachers, and through, at the other level, the tertiary education level, government has just piloted, is in the process of piloting a student loan scheme, right, for people doing graduate studies. This has never happened since this country was founded as a colony in 1808, let alone to talk about post-independence. These are the countries that distinguish poor developing countries from the advanced West or North America. We want to experiment it here with the ultimate objective of ensuring that nobody is robbed of an opportunity to realizing their fullest potentials because they cannot afford to pay fees, right? We are making progress.
Let's talk on education for example, and go back to the manifesto promise. I know your party and President Bio campaigned on checkmating the downward spiral of education at the time. And we've seen that it's a given. It's the single most ambitious program ever implemented by any government since independence. But many critics have expressed concerns with regards the implementation and things promised. You mentioned when it was launched in August of 2018 at the Miata conference, the president promised, and your manifesto also promised few things that were not delivered. And those timelines were not as to when they would be incorporated into it, but many felt at the time that, oh, this is a complete package. And when the president mentioned free quality education, we saw even government ministers, members of parliament, they pledged from their salaries to get it going. But the challenges that many have attributed to the system now is we do not have teachers are complaining. We do not have enough trained and qualified teachers to push the quality aspect of it. And we still have kids that are out of school. There's an out-of-school report that was done by Purposeful, and the president also admonished that, but he promised by 2035 is going to cut half of that number. So where are we in terms of all of these challenges in the last 5 years of your governance?
So, I mean, I'm glad that every Sierra Leonean appreciates that this is the right and proper thing to do, the introduction of the free quality education. More so in such a rapid way that His Excellency did it, that befooled even his most ardent critics, right? But here is what. Quality cannot be legislated. It is something you acquire over time. And this is why we require media practitioners to support us. This is why and where we require parents to support us. This is where and why we require civil society to support us. This is why we are invigorating CTAs, Community Teachers Associations, and the like, so that we can all draw government's attention to some of these key and critical issues. It's imperative that students must have some interaction with their notes when they go home. If they go home, and even if you are taught by the best teachers around the world, if you go home, you don't engage with your books. I listened to one of you just saying you spent the whole of last night, trying to, keep yourself fit for purpose.
Right.
That is the same kind of thing. You can be taught by the best teachers. Parents have to return to responsible parenting. Ensure that they get their kids to study, even when taught by the best teachers. They have to ensure that civil society has to ensure that they play their part, like I have said. But all together, talking about education, about agriculture, about the healthcare delivery, you have about 26,400 people directly employed by government. And we are still counting, because we believe you have to have this right if you are committed, if you are indeed serious about moving your country forward.
Part of the quality aspect of the free quality education has had its challenges with, especially let's look for example, the WASC exams, where examination malpractice and has been an issue. What has the government done in that area? Because that area brings a question mark on the quality of the free quality education in itself.
Yeah, so remember I mentioned parents have to be responsible parents. That is not a job you can outsource to teachers. Teachers can only do so much. Parents have to be responsible parents. Ensure that even if their kids are taught by the best teachers in schools, they have some interaction with their notes when they go back. Well-prepared kids do not resort to cheating in exams. When we took over, the situation was epic. It was such a national disgrace and embarrassment. On one such occasion, President Bill returned home from an overseas trip. He saw kids climbing on top of roofs to escape arrest because they had been caught pants down spying in the exams. Right? We have seen kids hiding in refrigerators to escape arrest and all of this. So it's a long incubated culture, right? Particularly over the 11 years that the APC was here. So we have had to confront it head on. The president put together a task force of which I was a member. We had meetings, we had campaigns, we took real bold, practical and audacious steps. That is why you see it on the retreat. Have we solved it? I can't guarantee that, but we are beating it back. It has become a widely entrenched culture of cheating, of spying, of getting criminal, rogue elements in the school system. But that's going to take us time to resolve it. But we have cracked it. The syndicate has been cracked, and it's in retreat.
We've just been joined by Honorable Abdul Kargbo, member of the main opposition All People's Congress APC party. Honorable, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll come to you in a moment, but back to the Minister of Information. During the inauguration, President Bill spoke about waging war against 3 pillars, and amongst those was the war against corruption. Let's piggyback on the GTT report itself. It was, a mass expose on corruption practices in the previous administration. And it coming back to President Bill fighting a war against corruption, you would imagine that he would not perhaps want to see, after his time in office, a situation where another GTT report comes out about his administration and then there's mass corruption. But we've not seen much of the anti-corruption, for example, chasing current serving ministers or appointees in this government when it comes to corruption. And some people do not believe that's because of the absence of the practice of corruption in these offices, but just because they are sacred cows, because again, the Anti-Corruption Commissioner is an appointee of the president. Okay, so on a normal day, I would have felt very insulted, being figuratively or otherwise referred to as a cow. You know, President Bio is not a Buddhist. He has no sacred cows. He will follow the evidence of corruption wherever it leads to. I mean, you have seen instances of that in the past. The former Minister for Basic and Senior Secondary Education and some other appointees were named in the corruption scam. He did the rightful. He immediately suspended them and he investigated. So the reality of the situation is that while in the previous administration, it is the ministers themselves who had their hands in the kitty. In our own situation, it is the ministers who take alleged corrupt officials to the ACC. I am a living witness. On the eve of the launch of the commissions of inquiry, a group of my staff members tinkered with state funds that was meant to support the public awareness and sensitization campaign. And I took, after exhausting the internal grievance processes, I took them to the Anti-Corruption Commission. They were tried, convicted, and they served jail time. So that is to tell you, again, we have a robust and agile attitude towards fighting corruption. Presidency, and you know, I was answering. Let's come back to that. Still on the president's, you know, commitment in wanting to see the war against corruption succeed. We still piggy that back to the GTT report, which was predicated.
Yeah, I was going to address issues around the GTT report.
Which was strongly predicated before the commissions of inquiry, strongly predicated on the Auditor General's reports in previous years. Yep. But we've also seen a situation where that same Auditor General who was hailed, whose reports were considered very solid and professional to a point it formed GTT report, was now questioned about professionalism when her reports under the new administration of President Bio was not favorable. And we've also seen the replacement in office. For the first time, we have the Office of President, Vice President, and First Lady with a perfect score under the Auditor General's report. The investigation, we still don't know much about what's going on. So this comes back to how committed is President Bio in fighting the war against corruption? We've heard the president being completely silent on the previous Auditor General. Nothing at all has been heard on that.
So let's get a few things right. In my literature class back in the days, I don't know where my colleague Abdul was. Everywhere in my school, I would have taught him. Back in my literature class, when we were doing character assessment, it is what that person says and what others say about him that constitutes somebody's character. President Bio is being evaluated by the world. Successive global corruption indexes have shown him flying very high as an anti-corruption crusader of no mean repute. From a dismal 47% when he took over, he has continued to increase his scores on the MCC scorecard for corruption, for investing in people, for freedom of speech, for land rights, and all of this. These scores were not given to him by people in Tiun, where he is from. There was 09 people there. Or from Foendu, say that's where the information minister comes from. These are globally reputed institutions that have rated us over the period.
And they have,
just a minute.
They have their benchmarks. They have their benchmarks they look at to come up with these conclusions. But when you come back to the country,
I'm coming back to the country.
The people in the country also have what they look at. We've seen how committed President Bio can be to things that he's very passionate about. Education, for example. Women, rape, and we've seen the president take actions, whether verbally or through policy, on issues that he's passionate about.
Okay, so let us have this. You have mentioned all of this. I am saying to you that year on year, in fact, every year, the Anti-Corruption Commissioner has refunded amounts to governments that we have never seen before. Unprecedented amounts running to millions and millions of loans. These are proceeds of corruption following some of them entry plea bargains, some of them being fined by the courts, and all of that. So the GTT report, it has been established that many people have been found guilty, even they lost their appeals. Some properties were declared bona vacantia because the people who had tinkered with state funds did not want that public naming and shaming. So these properties have reverted to the state, right? So we are saying the president is very merciless when it comes to fighting corruption. He tells us in cabinet, look, gentlemen, this country has hemorrhaged and suffered for far too long. Let us be that group of men and women who help save her. And that I'll have no mercy, no sacred cows. I'll follow the evidence to wherever it leads. And we have seen that, right? Some of these processes of corruption are quite huge. I mean, every year at very impressive ceremonies, the Anti-Corruption Commissioner presents this, on camera, and AYB has always been there. You have reported these things. So that same man cannot now become somebody who is not committed to corruption. And let us say that even the laws have been reviewed to further strengthen it, to ensure that people who are convicted are not allowed to hold public office for X number of years. So that means this man takes the war against corruption very seriously. About the Auditor General that you mentioned, just how I wish this were a secret. The Auditor General herself will not want this thing to be discussed all the time because she has found every trick in the book over the period to ensure that there are adjournments, successive and unending adjournments to the matter. Because we have charged as government that there was a case for her to answer. As in all democracies, she has had recourse to a commission as established by the very act that set her up. So let us allow the commission to fully unravel.
All right.
So play out.
Let's bring in Honorable Abdul Kargbo to make a precursory remark on 5 years of President Julius Maada Bio and the SLPP in government.
Well, basically, I was wondering why the SLPP-led government, was campaigning on the composition of the APC executive, was campaigning on the composition of the regional distribution of the APC executive. After having listened to the minister, I came to the speedy conclusion that it is because they don't have a campaign message. The minister has just said they have done extremely well in 3 ministries: education, health, agriculture. To me, I am shocked and I am surprised that the minister could state these 3 ministries as the ministries which they have done very well. Let us just go to education. Yeah. In fact, they are saying they have saved people this. The education we are having here is not free education. It's fee-free. You don't pay fees, but you pay every other charges that you are to pay as a parent. Now, let me tell you, because of the fact that this government cannot control inflation, this government cannot control the exchange rate, everything you need to buy to go to school has increased in price. Yeah? What is the school fee? For secondary school, we are paying 25,000 per term. So the entire year, it was 75,000 leons. If you don't pay it now on your school fee, you have to pay it on the shoes you buy. You have to pay it on the uniform you sew. You have to pay it on the school badge. You have to pay it on the dress. So to go to school now is more expensive than to go to school under the days of APC. But that is not the subject of discussion. That is not my point. Let us go to what the president promised when he wanted to assume office, especially on education. What led the teachers to vote for the president? He promised them that each teacher who intends to do further study in any university will have free education. That was a scam. No teacher is having free education at tertiary level. He also promised that every teacher who has taught for 10 years will have 3 of his children go to university without paying a dime. That was also a scam on the teachers. They were deceived. He also promised that there will build 1 school in every section, 1 school in every ward, 1 school in every constituencies. In every constituency. That was also a scam. You understand? So most of the in fact, they said they were going to ban completely the 2-shift system. The 2-shift system. They were going to ban it because they will build more infrastructure. Go now, we have the 2-shift system. So if education is their backbone, is what they are priding themselves with. I am of the firmest conviction that this government has not done much. Now let's go to health.
Is there a pass mark there for them?
No, there is no pass mark. Even the field, even the quality of education has watered down. I will tell you why.
Why?
Previously, when we sat to O-level and wanted to enter university, there was no entrance exam. But now, emphatically, every institution which wants to be credible have put in place entrance exam, because they doubt the number of passes and the people who pass. They doubt their level, you know, of being able to pass the exams. Now, he said health.
Right.
They have done well in health. I am reading the recently published audit report as 2021. Yeah? And let me tell you some of what he says about the health sector. He said there was this is page 94 of the audit report. He said there was inadequate staffing to cater for the needs of the hospital. Specialist doctor, practitioner, such as surgeon, physician, cardiologist, radiologist, pediatric surgeon, and all. They are insufficient in our hospital. Then listen, the storage facility in the kitchen and medical stores were not adequate.
Was that referring to a specific hospital?
Yeah, it is referred to. In fact, what is common is that what is obtaining in one hospital goes right around the hospitals. It also says the hospital needs medical equipment and other facilities, such as suction machine, BP machine, theater trolley, split lamp, oxygen concentration, water plant, etc., etc. If hospital would need BP machine, which is the most common to be produced, you understand, and the minister is priding the government of having done exceptionally in the health ministry, then I question what this government refers to as exception. And he said the medical waters were not properly disposed due to lack of non-functional incinerators, you see. So to me, this is the report. And this was done by the Auditor General appointed by them after they removed liar.
We're having different indices produced by different institutions. So yes. The minister mentioned the reduction in maternal. But go ahead, let me allow.
He has not contested that at all.
Yes, I have not.
We have not said. We have not said. Well, that's part of the discipline in public life. We're introduced. We're expected here to be here by 9 o'clock. He came late. You can have your moment.
Go ahead. Interestingly, there was a very serious accident at Hill Station. You called there now, no car is moving. I had to come down my car and take bike so that I
also did same. I live in that neighborhood. I had to veer off that road to come here.
Gentlemen, let's make most of this time and stay on course.
Yes. Let me tell you, the minister spoke of agriculture.
Yes.
To me, if I am a member of this government, I will never pride myself with what this government has done in the field of agriculture.
Why?
Because the more you produce, the more availability, the more the supply, the more the demand, and at the end of the day, when you supply more, the prices go down. They go down. If this government has done much in agriculture, the price of a bag of rice should have gone down drastically. The prices of palm oil should have gone down. The prices of agricultural produce should have gone down. But I tell you, this government met a bag of rice at 200,000 leons, and now it is over 650,000 leons in just 5 years. In just 5 years, how could a government who have done exceptionally well in agriculture not able to control the price of a bag of rice? And let me tell you some of the indices of this government. This government, in fact, interestingly, when the minister is saying they have done exceptionally well in agriculture, recently, the global hunger index was displayed, and Sierra Leone is 112 out of 121 countries. This is the first time in the history of this nation that we are scoring 31.5% in the hunger index. So it means we have a very serious level of hunger in this country. I am watching WhatsApp video when a family was seated outside and they were feeding on gari. saying they cannot buy a cup of rice, which is 5,000 euros now. Some of them cannot feel the pinch. You know, only a ninja can stop a ninja. If they were buying rice, they would have felt the pinch of the ordinary Sierra Leoneans. But like I told you, and also inflation, he spoke of inflation. They met inflation at 14.9%. And the president in his state opening address authoritatively said that they will bring inflation to a single digit. What they don't understand, there is monthly inflation and there is annual inflation. I can bet anybody in this government that this government has never brought the annual inflation to single digits. This is the first time in this country that inflation is taken from 14.9% to 42.7%. It has never occurred in this country. This is the first time. So meaning, if this government is left to continue, we'll have inflation reaching 60%. And quite apart from that, the exchange rate. This government made the exchange rate at 7,500 leons. And they oppose it, they condemn it. Go to the New Direction manifesto, page 5. They said they will control the exchange rate. But from 7,500 leons, now we have 22,000 leons. Just for dollar. So you see, they have poor fiscal management. This government met 100,000 leons can give you 150 Guinean francs. Our money was quite valued than the Guinean franc. 150 Guinean francs. Because of the inability of this government to produce, to profile in quality fiscal management and economic policies. Now, 100 leons, Sierra Leone leons will give you only 46 Guinean francs. Just in 5 years.
Abdul Kargbo, before the 2018 election, we had gotten to a point where our economy wasn't actually really dancing in celebration because even your administration then spoke about austerity measures. So are you saying had the APC been given a chance to continue in governance during that 2018 elections, the story would have changed by now?
Quite, yes. In fact, I am
You're
happy.
saying a yes?
Yes, I'm happy.
So you would have worked harder to make things better?
No, I'm happy you brought in austerity. Because that is their campaign message.
I'm leading somewhere else. Let's just get that out of the way. So you're saying you would have made things a lot better than it is now.
Perfectly.
So the interruption has come with the SLP.
No. Let me tell you. I wish to answer your question.
So what of as well with the SLPP, giving them a chance to win the 2023 elections, so they would also be able to fix things, just as the APC could have fixed things if they won in 2018. What of that?
Let me answer your question. In 2014. When we had the twin shock, our growth rate reduced drastically to -19 to -20. It has never occurred in this country for the growth rate to reduce to -20. It was due to the expedient financial management of the APC government that in just 1 year, we raised it up again to 6.3% from -20. Yeah? So they did not meet the economic situation that we, APC, faced.
So, I'm coming. Just a minute, gentlemen. Gentlemen, hold on.
Let us respect our viewers.
Let's understand. Let's understand our positions here. We ask the questions. You guys
I have not landed. I have not answered.
Yes, we guide where we're going with our interview. Thank you, gentlemen. So you're saying now, fast forward to where we are, the APC could have done a lot if you had the opportunity in 2018.
We did not could have done.
Hold on, Honorable Abdul Kargbo. So for the people who are following now, who do not want a situation where fast forward to another 5 years from now, the SLPP comes and says, well, had we been given a chance in 2020, had we been given a chance in 2023 to continue, we would have fixed things. For people who would think like that, why not give the SLPP another chance?
Thank you. I hope you will give me ample time to answer this question. Like I always say, there was a very serious financial crisis because of the twin shock, the Ebola and the condescending price of the iron ore. But due to proper fiscal management, due to the fact that we have people who are quite capable of controlling the finances of this state, they were able to correct that in only 1 year, just 1 year. They were able to correct that. You understand? And now let me tell you what they are referring to as austerity. If anybody knows what the meaning of austerity is, they will commend APC for introducing austerity. Yeah? Austerity is when government looks at the economic situation and government decides that I will reduce my spending because I want to help my people, because I want to help the citizens. Government will reduce their travel, government will reduce their unnecessary spending. That is what they have not done. When they took up office, I said inflation was 14.9%, and now it is 42.7%. When they took up office, the exchange rate was 7,500. Now it's 22,000. When they took up office, our external debt was 16 trillion. Now it's clocking 40 trillion. When they took up office, the wage bill was 1.9 trillion. Now it's clocking 4.8 trillion. There is nothing better that they have done.
And so we'll need the minister to respond to all those things you've brought up.
Okay, so in context, using his same statements, he has mentioned, when we campaigned in 2018, the thing was we were one of the 3 hungriest nations in the world, right? And he gave us our report card that has improved. We're faring on better by his own admission, not me. On radio, on camera, on TV. Yes, he said that. You said that in many words. You gave us percentage scores. Yeah. Yes, you judge people. So normally you judge people in the context of their times. When we made those proclamations, we did it in the context of an austerity situation that we inherited, right? But we did not have the twin shocks of COVID. We did not have the Russia-Ukraine war. We only did it in the context of what we had then, right? But still, that has not become an alibi for inaction. When we took over in 2018, you had real GDP growth was, in 2016, real GDP growth was 6.7%. It started spiraling down, yeah? By the end of the first quarter of 2018, when we took over, right? It had depreciated to something like 3.7%. 3.7 from 6.7 in 2016 to 3.7, right? So, by the same token, you find out that by 2020, we had stabilized it, we had reduced it, the GDP, we had improved it to 5.5%, right? Inflation then stood at the time we took over at 15%. He said it himself, 14.9, 15%. Right? We had reduced it by 2020, at the end of 2020, to 8.5%.
Not possible.
8.5%. That is what the records, all global assessments are saying. No. This is not me talking.
We have the annual
This is what the global assessments are saying.
There has never been a single digit.
No. 8.5% will reduce inflation to that. Anyway, you and I can argue till the cows come home, but that's what we are saying. Yes, we have been able, we have had challenging times. But what are we doing? Even in the midst, two situations ought to be brought into context. When we had in the past administration, they prided themselves as having had the fastest growing economy, right? It was during that same time that austerity was declared. It was during that same time that teachers were not brought onto the payroll, right? It was during that same time that you did not have nurses recruited. It was during that same time that you did not have security forces. I have been on the thank you to His Excellency the President. I have had very gory tales of people who have been volunteer teachers for 10 years until the SLP came to rescue them. Those communities are grateful and they have committed to express their thanks and appreciation to His Excellency in the ballot box come 24th June, right? Yeah. So, other issues. No. You have to wait. I just started. Abdul, look. Otherwise, you have to buy airtime.
We are running out of time.
You have to buy airtime and phone. No. Why did I have 30 minutes?
Yes.
That's the APC way of clocking time.
I started talking 32
Okay. So.
Yes.
Okay.
32 minutes.
So.
The program started sharp.
So, while he mentions shocks, we are saying we inherited an austerity plus shocks, twin shocks of COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war. We have not made that an alibi for inaction. Even during those shocks, we ensured we continue to look after our people. Government, the first thing we did was to ensure that we put in place a quick action economic recovery program. One of the key objectives of that was to ensure that we had, a continuous supply of basic essential commodities here, Compared to our neighbors, they queued up for it. They came here to get some of those things. So while all our neighboring countries were struggling to access basic essential commodities, because of the clairvoyance of this government, this leadership, and the competence of the economic management team, we did not suffer for any essential commodities. The other bit I wanted to point out was during the same period. During the same period, we gave direct support to people in the service sector, the hotel and tourism workers across this country. We gave them 3 months' salaries each, right? No government has done. The APC did not do that. They did not. They were not compassionate. Even when we had Ebola. With Ebola, we had more resources pouring in here. We only had 3 countries: Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, that had Ebola. They had millions coming in here. They did not show a human face. They had no compassion, right? Even when with COVID, the whole world is suffered from COVID. But still, we found time to give resources to our people. We launched Munafa Fund through the same period to give direct cash transfers. We did many things.
Right.
Even for
let's allow one
people with disabilities, we gave direct cash transfers.
Go ahead, quickly. The minister spoke.
And next time, please be on time. Thank you.
The minister spoke of.
That is how the next administration will look like. They don't expect time.
The minister spoke of corruption in the last government, and that the last government left the country in austerity. There is no government that is more corrupt than this current government.
Evidence, please.
Yes, the evidence. Go to the audit report. This is the only government in which the office of the president has been indicted for forging receipts. Go to South Africa. Go to the hotel.
When an auditor general makes herself the issue, when she becomes a professional, and when she wants to play to the gallery, that is what they get. This government
has never cleared that. The only thing they have done is to sack the auditor general.
Well, we have said the auditor general has a case to answer.
I gave you the laxity, and I showed there should be some amount of reciprocity. I should also have the ambience, I didn't interrupt.
This is not a football college student.
I didn't
you should have the ambience.
Yes, go ahead quickly.
This government, you understand, in just 1 year, 2021, this government lost 187.3 billion euros. From the audit report, he's asking for evidence. From the audit report, that is what APC lost. Even if you combine what APC lost in 2015, 2016, 2017, it is not up to what they lost in only 1 year. In only 1 year, this government also has had one of the worst human rights reports from the United States Department of State. Yeah, this government has had also a very negative amnesty report. This government has had a very negative EU report. So when they claim that they were cleaning the images of this country by traveling outside, it is the reverse. You cannot clean the image of your country outside. You clean the image of your country inside, because the world is a global village. What happens here goes to BBC. What happens here go to CNN, go to every. So you cannot be doing bad and say, I am going to clean the image of the country when I'm travel out. And you travel out with fake receipts presented to the Auditor General. And when the Auditor General published that Office of the President gave us fake receipts, she had to be sacked. To the extent that the person who succeeds never audited the Office of the President, never audited the Office of the Vice President, never audited the Office of the First Lady, because those are the no-go areas. You mistake, they will kick you out again. You see, so that is how hostile this government is to accountability. Yeah, and also, you see, people who are serving in this government must be apologizing now to the people of this country. Go to data, go to mobile call. You remember during APC, we used to have free calls during the weekend. Because every minute call you make, government takes 30% and the mobile company takes 70%. When this government came, they said APC was leaving you in the weekend and they were not taking their 30%. But us SLPP will take our 30%. Whether it's free call or no free call, it's not our business. So that forced the mobile companies to begin to charge weekend call, and they also charge midnight call. When they went to the car power ship, this government negotiated with the car power ship. APC was paying 19 cents per kilowatt hour. When they came, they said, no, that was too much money. Let us go and renegotiate. They renegotiated. And they began to pay 16 cents per kilowatt hour. They were saving, through that arrangement, they were saving $18 million every 2 years. What they did was to come again and increase the tariff from 560 leos per kilowatt hour to 1,400. See how inconsiderate this government is. The people who danced for them, the people who sang for them, the people who were on the streets for them, it's the people that they punished when they came to power. And government cannot have everything. Government has to let go.
Okay, so what we have to do, we do not have time.
Yeah,
we do not have time. So I mean, at this point, we'll leave the conversation there. I'll just ask you to just use 10 seconds to send a message of peace.
Yeah, let me do that.
A message of
peace, the non-violence during
we're keeping all the politicians. We have to put this conversation into context.
1 second to
it means that you've had more than 40 minutes.
No.
Go ahead, we're still
so
time, please. Yeah.
The Amnesty report and the U.S. State Department report he is citing, in the U.S. State Department report, they are even indicting government for not enacting gay rights. Right, so that's what you probably will do in your next administration. Those are the things that are in that report. I've read it very thoroughly.
All right.
They have read it.
No. Government of killing its citizens.
No. Why you? The whole problem here is the opposition. The opposition
arbitrary arrest
because
this government is killing its citizens.
All right,
Abdul,
gentlemen.
Because the opposition is bereft of ideas, all they have, the only weapon they have in their arsenal is violence. Violence will not be part of this discussion. We wanted to bring alternative policies to the very successful policies of His Excellency's free quality education. We want to see your alternative policies to repealing the criminal libel law. We want to see your alternative policies to the gender empowerment and equality law.
You remove the death
I will hear.
But you know how many
talking about.
Let's hold back our show. Hold on,
so let me round up.
Let me do that. Sorry, just a minute. Let's respectfully round up with the non-violence campaign.
So as we round up with this non-violence campaign, let it be noted here and now that His Excellency, the First Lady, the VP's offices were all audited, but they did not meet the threshold like Abdul mentioned, they were not audited. It's not true. They did not meet the threshold for a full-time audit. There has to be requirements you meet. So on that note, and in the interest of decorum, we realize as a government that President Bio has done phenomenally well. There is still work to be done. As we prepare to elect him on the 24th of
Gentlemen, respectfully, we're running out of time.
Please keep the peace.
Your banter would not end, but let's go to the non-violence campaign.
As citizens prepare to overwhelmingly vote for His Excellency President Bio on June 24th, let us keep the peace. This country is only able to realize our fullest potentials in a peaceful and stable environment. We are only able to attract tourism, to attract foreign direct investment, to continue the good work, to create jobs for the young people, and to continue the electrification of the country, to continue doing the other things we're doing if this country is peaceful. So call on the APC to jettison violence, to jettison mamikos, and to bring alternative policy discourse on.
In politics, people against before the real voting day. And by every extension, SLPP has known that they are losing.
We are winning on the first ballot.
Gentlemen, let's do non-violence. Or should we take it that you're not committed to the non-violence campaign in the state? So please let's keep it to the non-violence. We have time.
What we are saying is that Sierra Leone is a peaceful country. We know what we have gone through the 11 years. No country would want to see what Sierra Leone saw in these 11 years. Let's create a level playing field for all political candidates. You cannot use live bullets. You cannot use tear gas to fire at a presidential aspirant. It's a peace message.
Gentlemen,
those are the things.
Who have promised to solve the problem.
This is where we end this long short. Let's close the program.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.